5D relationships. They are always a tango because we have secure attachment individuals. So that means you are your own safe haven, secure base, as described in this lovely polysecure book for anybody who is polyamory, and you embody it in a way like a 5D mystic who knows about their oversoul. Because see, the mystic who's in the 5D collective, it's always oneness consciousness, because we know we're one big ball of energy. And it doesn't matter if it's twin flames, soulmates, none of that matters, because we're a big ball of consciousness energy. And so, like the Rumi quote goes, we don't say goodbye because we don't love with our eyes. We have this lovely, and I'm not even going to use the words that he uses, but basically we do not know separation. And so we don't love in a way that says bye. No, actually love is our nature. As pointed out by even our lovely Sadhguru in one of his recent quotes, relationships are about someone else. Love is your nature. And as Stephen Porges has pointed out when he describes in the polyvagal theory course that I still need to finish, how we can only love if we're in a physiological state where our ventral vagal nervous system is engaged, because that's when our oxytocin gene hormone is on. But most of all, it's because we would sit in a room with you forever and ever and not ever feel unsafe. So we feel secure in our ability to be in a room with you. And that's that secure attachment that the 0 to 1 year old is actually longing for, to be seen, to feel soothed, to then feel safe, to be secure. And a third of attunement is what can help a person to achieve secure attachment, but also repair of ruptures. So when I accidentally feed you, but you're cold, me learning how to repair that. Oh, and if I'm yelling, that's not going to be very helpful, because your infant body is not going to be in a state of ease, because my body isn't, and we're nervous systems, and that's our embodied brain. So if I'm yelling, my nervous system is in sympathetic. And the infant near me is going to, because the nervous systems, we don't actually learn to self-regulate by ourselves. No, we learn to self-regulate based on the bodies near us. And that is where a dysfunctional family pattern, a dysfunctional nervous system that then grows up to have insecure attachment, and therefore then has a disconnect from their restorative embodied self. They also have a shame defectiveness within them, and that's because they longed to feel safe, but they didn't. So their emotional body had to be turned off. And then their empathy also, the seat of empathy actually turns off automatically when you're not able to be in your mammalian heritage, because you're actually going to be in your reptilian nervous system, the survival mode of fight, flight, fright. And so some infant bodies only learn how to navigate their life from a state of survival, because they have not the environment that helps them to be regulating in a ventral vagal. And in order for this to happen, studies have shown for attachment researchers that it's not about perfect parenting. No, there's actually resiliency created when you have the infant be in a little bit of discomfort. And, you know, again, a nervous system, it's like a muscle. So I'm just going to explain it like you would a car, or no, not a car, because that's not actually it. No, a muscle, like when you go to the gym and work out. Now, the same thing goes, a nervous system can learn how to navigate itself. There's only 3 modalities. This would be that sympathetic. When we breathe in, we're activating a sympathetic. We're ready to go fight or flight or flee. So it's the charge state. And then there's the dorsal vagal, which is part of our parasympathetic. The other branch of the parasympathetic is the ventral vagal, but that can only engage if you feel safe in your environment. So long story short, here's my little bit of psychoed, and I do confuse data. So if you need resources, let me know. I'll send you plenty of them. And back to why 5D relationships are fun and the tango, it's because people are either aware of their own attachment and they work to move into secure, or they are their own safe haven. So that means you unconsciously love who you are with your flaws and imperfections. And it's okay if you don't like me. We don't have shame about not liking each other. There's worthiness in every person, and we don't have to be the same in any way, shape, or form to see it. And the secure base, I know what I like in my mind, what I like to learn about, what I like to talk about. You do too, and what I want to do with 24 hours. There you go. No shame in doing different stuff and saying, you know, I don't really like talking about that one. Let's move and talk about this one. Or, you know, we don't have anything in common. How do we want to try and spend some time? I've actually shared this with one of my friends. I'm like, I'm not going to be out with you for 5 hours. I and you share nothing in common, but I will get a coffee? Do you want to get a coffee? Because, half an hour we can handle that together. And they laugh and they still think that we can hang out longer. And I'm like, you believe in evil. I don't. Already right here. You don't like humans. You want to talk about them as sheep. I don't. And I tease and they tease, but it's true. And that's how we know how to be direct, because it's not an insult. I acknowledge that you are the Darth Vader you want to say you be. And I leave you alone with your identity, but I don't want to be around it because my ears actually turn off. So I have also said, I don't hear you anymore at a certain point. I actually, I hear your voice in the background. That's it. And this is a beautiful person. They're sweet and all of it. But seriously, my brain, this is the part, you can't fake it. And it's ruder to be around a person and not say something than to actually be able to try and create a conversation. And here's what happens when you have a person who's emotionally mature, which is in the case of this individual. So they're not unaware of their patterns of behavior, and they're able to say, okay, and then keep on doing what they're doing. So nervous systems, embodied brains, that's what we all are. But a 5D relationship will be based on basically true friendship. Sadhguru quote. A true friend is someone who has the courage to tell you that you are, what shit you are. Thank you, Sadhguru. And still be loving and nice to you. Yes, and that is the truth. Because the ones who have their little lists of what to do, well, the agreements, likes and dislikes, there's our insecure attachment, which involves attachment wounds and trauma wounds. And they can go, as Patrick Tiahan points out, and Terry Real, any person who works with people who do have childhood trauma, they all say your relationships are not your therapists. So with Patrick Tiahan, he even points out, if you're in a relationship with somebody and you're consistently sending them information and thinking, this is where codependency types, I'm going to change you, I'm going to be the martyr, I'm going to be the superhero, I'm going to be whatever, or I'm to blame for you, that's the other. So taking care or changing, these are codependent types. So people who do this stuff, they're not in a relationship with another grown-up. They're not differentiated selves yet. They're not secure. So that's why it's not a tango. It's not fun for emotionally mature people. We don't try to change you. We don't try to take care of you. We don't want you to take care of us, and we don't want you to change us. We want each other to be present, aware, and attuning and resonating, and not making any type of assumption of you knowing what I am or not, because that's not how it works. When you are independent, and that's when you're a secure attachment person. So you're an independent human being, and you can grow all of the relationships, which is where 5D relationships are. We don't cancel people. True friend knows how to say what shit you are, man. And I've done that to friends, and we're still friends. Because when we actually care, we're not going to lie. So direct communication is always the truth. And those who do not know that they are people who have unresolved trauma, and so they are in a game, as Patrick Tiahan points out, which equals gaslighting, manipulation, ghosting, aspects that are not tactics to a person who has the wit to know something's off here, because we're not tangoing in, and we should be tangoing because of a lot of other series of events. And in this arena, it's hurt people who care will say, you know what, I care about this person, and they be intelligent and wander, not the dead sure idiot. And here's where, when you're in a shame cycle and say, no, I'm evil, so you must be evil, or you know what, you did it on purpose. That's where they all go off. 4D collective is there, with their karmics and third parties and energy vampires, and so are the people who do, I cancel you because da-da-da-da. People who are trauma-informed and know about childhood trauma, the grown-ups, we don't talk about people like that. We know that hurt people who hurt people can do the work. If they're not, and they ignore this, it doesn't mean they don't care in the way of their assholes. No, it means they're not aware of what game they're playing, which means they don't know what independent, fun relationships are. And it's okay. They don't have to learn, especially if they're not trying to have direct communication with you about, I actually feel very emotionally destabilized. So I want to chit chat. There's always room for chit chat. It depends on, did your amygdala alert itself to somebody with an interest of, I want to make sure I care about you, or did it just decide to make up some story in a narrative that the inner child unfortunately lives in? But again, you can see when somebody is there to talk versus when somebody's not. But, again, choices. So 5D relationships are fun. Let's be compassionate. Be your Zen master. Tune in for more.